I'm going to talk about emotional maturity. And I'm going to use metaphor and just kind of talk about my impression about it. And I mean something kind of specific, just a rule of thumb when I'm talking about emotional maturity that I'll define in a second. It's also about giving and taking in relationships and how people give and they take. By emotional maturity, I mean, when people don't really take proper responsibility or aren't able to stop their emotions and they lose their cool, it can be more than just anger, but when you lose your cool, this is an emotional immaturity. To be emotionally mature is when you are upset with somebody, remember that in the future you're not going to be upset. And don't go all out like, well, I hate you, I've always hated you, because you realize that even if you do feel that way right now, that you have a whole life that you're living. So the maturity is related to this because it's about having had experience to learn that, whether you understood it right off in your life or not. Life itself will teach you that. Or that's the hope. So, but there's a lot of people that are emotionally mature, and I think, well, first of all, my theory is that people like that can't really love. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have the capacity for love. I think that we all do have a heart, and here's where the metaphor comes in. That there's a heart that when it's enraptured with love, it glows with energy, and that energy is meant to come out of the body or the soul or the mind and into the real world, onto the object of love. When you're emotionally mature, I believe those immaturities are parts of defense mechanisms and things like this. But that's kind of how my thinking goes on that. And metaphorically, it becomes like a shield. And the purpose of this shield is it reflects some of this love back on the self. So love that's meant to go out into the real world onto something loved. The thing is out there, but some of the energy is reflected back and sort of stolen by the person. Stolen if you think that it was destined for the object that was loved. And in a situation like that, you become a taker. You're taking stuff. You're taking energy. Because where your heart is supposed to go outward, some of that comes in. Now, people that take, why do they end up with people that are givers? Why does that happen? Why doesn't the giver say, well, I should get given too, and see that obviously? Well, the giver enjoys giving. And the person that knows how to take and has this energy focused back on themselves knows how to receive. And the giver gets a direct enjoyment out of that. But of course, you really do have to have two givers. And part of the point here is not to simplify relationships into just givers and takers, because it's never quite that simple or clean cut. But in the principle of how this giving and taking hooks up, I believe it can be unbalanced, and this is sort of why it tends that way. Because some person is needing to give, and this other person is sort of emotionally immature and trapped where they can only take, really. Now, the thing to notice is that, okay, this person that is basically, I've said, is the taker or emotionally immature, they have a real heart, and it's really loving in there. And it's really loving because of that object, their lover, or the thing that they're loving, the person that they're loving. I do mean in general, but of course, let's bring it back to people. So they love this person, and it really is because of them and all that. There's a filter in between. They'd be better off if they remove the filter and let that love get out to that person, and two people could give to each other. But they're trapped inside that. They're getting instantaneous gratification, they think, that they feel bad about later. Because we're talking about also those cases of people that are, they would describe it as losing control, but on the other hand, there's some intentionality to it as well. So the summary is that the people that give have to learn how to take, so that other people that like to give can enjoy giving to them. And the people that are emotionally mature need to realize that they have these shelters built around them, and they need to dissolve and work their way through them. And not entirely. You can keep some of your walls up. I think that's fine. I'm not like tear down all the walls. But any walls around your heart, because this is what's making you emotionally mature. Or at least that's what's occurred to me lately. Theory.